Hi, thank you for joining me today this is episode 5 of the Health Coaching for Horsewomen weekly series that I'm doing here on Facebook. So I just want to be me and just share with you a little bit about the violence and ways that we can get through this. So I hope you're having a great Tuesday. Good morning. If you want, give me a thumbs up that you are here and ready to go and kind of just have a nice chat today. No whiteboard, no nothing, just me. So good deal. I'm going to let everybody kind of get settled in and jump on here today. Hi, Rebecca. Good. Good morning, Faith. Hello. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm having a lot of fun with this health coaching series. It's teaching me a lot about myself. Hello, Jackie. Too, which is good. And that is kind of the direction that I want to take this today. Perfect. Hello, Sabrina. Right on. All right, let's get going with this. A couple things I have to share with you. La la la, got my nails back on, yay! So that's good news. And then tomorrow I'm hoping that this looks like highlights from my lights, but that's actually the most natural thing about my hair. 42 years old, definitely premature graying going on here. But it's all good, right? I think it's so important to learn how to accept everything about our bodies. Just that connection, the mind and the soul, and the body connection to actually, if there's anything good that came from COVID, it is in realizing that I did have the opportunity to get my hair get my roots done a couple times during this, and I used it as a learning opportunity to just be like, this is my natural, this is me, this is the most genuine me there is, this hair that is graying, that is me, and just being able to be with myself instead of trying to cover up the nails, cover up the hair. So that was fun. And what I learned was I was okay. I was okay being me. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. It's a very powerful clarity and acceptance. Acceptance is a really big thing, especially if you are working on losing weight or getting in shape or going after a horse goal, whatever it is. You can't do it in a way that you're trying to avoid who you are right now, looking to become something different or better in the future, thinking that will make you feel better or escape dealing with yourself now. So I didn't say that very clearly. So if right now you don't like the scale, you don't like the way your clothes fit, the truth is, when you hit your goal weight, it's not going to make you feel better than you feel right now. It's not the scale that's going to do it. It's not saying that you shouldn't pursue those goals, but in the pursuit of those goals, feeling good and accepting yourself for who you are starts right now. And that's your first step in your journey to your weight loss, to your fitness, is learning the process of that. So as we go through this, that I want to give you some tools, because it's not easy. It's not something that's easy to figure out by yourself, how to do that, how to love who you are as you are, to accept yourself 100% completely at the size and weight that you are, fitness level that you're in. So that's what I'm here for, is to kind of lead the way, let you know what's worked for me, what I've discovered in that process, and just be here to help you and coach you through that. Okay, you guys, here's what I have for you today. This is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what's going on in the world a little bit. I want to use that as our topic and see if we can't work together to give you some tools and find ways of helping you feel better and working through some things that might be coming up for you in the midst of all this turmoil. So not only did we start off with COVID and being in lockdown for several weeks, having it really change our lives, whether it was having your kids home for a couple of months, not in school, not getting an education. Maybe it was you losing your job, not being able to work. Simple things for me, not being able to dye my hair and get my nails done and go to horse shows. It disrupts our lives, right? And that has kind of shifted into what's been going on with the violence and the rioting and the protests in the major cities across the United States. So it really hits home for us horse people when we see footage of pickup and horse trailer driving through the riots and having the trailer being broken into. I don't know if you guys saw the video, but it's so scary, so disturbing to see other people just through their blind rage and who knows why they're doing it, attack innocent people. Very scary. Hi, Rhonda. Good morning. Very scary. So what next? What do we do with all this? Where do we begin to unravel? The first thing I want to do today is read you a quote. It's a short poem, honestly, is what it is. And then we'll go from there. So this is something that I heard several years ago, and it's always stuck with me. So it says, I wanted to change the world. When I was a young man, I wanted to change the world. I found it was difficult to change the world, so I tried to change my nation. When I found I couldn't change the nation, I began to focus on my town. I couldn't change the town, and as an older man, I tried to change my family. Now, as an old man, I realized the only thing I can change is myself. And suddenly I realized that if I long ago had changed myself, I could have made an impact on my family. My family and I could have made an impact on our town. Their impact could have changed the nation, and I indeed could have changed the world. So I love that. I love how you go from this idea of wanting to change what's going on around us. Oh, it's so terrible. What can I do to make some change happen? And so you set out to do that, right? You're going to change the world. You're going to change your nation. And man, what we readily discover is the only thing we have control of is ourselves. And if we keep breaking that down, the only thing that we have that we are in control of are our own thoughts. And if you guys have watched the previous episodes of this series, you've realized that, or you've heard me talk about how we think thoughts, and those thoughts create our feelings. Our feelings drive our actions. We're compelled to take the actions or not take the actions based on our feelings. And those actions are really what drive our results. And I love that because it's so simple. It's almost like a mathematical equation. So this, for me, the COVID and the violence that's going on is just such a great pointer to go, okay, how can I work on myself right now? What can I do? So I'll just run you through a little list of things that I'm working on personally for me right now. So the first thing that I do is I get still and I notice. It's just a noticing of how I'm feeling. And it's more of maybe describing the emotions, but it's also about how do those feel inside my body without the thoughts, not labeling the thoughts. It's just how do I feel? You know, am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling overwhelmed? Am I feeling stressed? Okay, yes, I think so. So what does that feel like in my body? So then I have to kind of calm down and get out of my head and into my body and recognize that, anxiety can be in the pit of my stomach. It can be a churning in my belly. I notice that stress and overwhelmment can be feelings across my back and a tightness, almost like I'm clenching and feeling very solid and very rigid. And then the key to that is not having an automated feeling of wanting to run from those unpleasant feelings in my body. Not running from them, not resisting them, not trying to figure out how to change them, just feeling them and being with them, allowing them, almost welcoming those feelings. Because a lot of times it's our fear of feeling bad, which is another layer that we're adding to the situation. So it's just in a noticing. It's an inside meditation, if you will. And a lot of people, they're advised, they're given the suggestion that they should start meditating, and it's great. It's a great tool. But I think without the direction to understand what we're looking for, sometimes it can be frustrating if you haven't spent much time trying to work on meditation. So for me, that's what I do, is just really notice how I'm feeling, and just being aware of it, aware and allowing. Like, I give myself permission to feel how I'm feeling right now. It's okay to feel this. What will happen? Let's see. I don't know. I guarantee you it's not going to be as bad as you think, okay? So from there, because we know that the feelings are kind of in the middle of the equation. So from there, I go backwards and I notice what thoughts I'm thinking. Because those feelings that I'm feeling, whether they're a positive or a negative emotion, are always 100% of the time the result of the thoughts I'm thinking. So how do we become aware of those thoughts? The thoughts we're thinking are a lot. There's a lot of them. The experts tell us 60 to 80,000 thoughts. That's a lot of thoughts to try to track down. So that's usually why I start with the feelings. The feelings are easier to identify and notice. But when we're talking about the thoughts, the best way is to sit down with a pen and a piece of paper and just capture what comes up. Be the watcher of the sentences that are running through your mind, and whatever one you notice, just capture it and write it down. It's almost like you have a big net and you scoop the thought right out of your mind and onto the paper. And when you do that, you slow them down, you capture them, and then you can you can step back from the thoughts and look at them for what they are, just sentences that has a capital letter in the beginning and a period or a question mark or an exclamation mark at the end. Been homeschooling my kindergartner, and we've been working on one sentence at a time. So it's just making it simple. So from there, what do? You see these thoughts that you've been thinking. And it's very tempting to do the same thing, to want to run, to want to resist, to want to judge your thoughts, to want to call yourself names, doing all these things. It's very normal for that to happen. But those, again, are what? What are those? They're just more thoughts. Write them down. Write them down until you get them all out. Maybe it'll take 5 minutes. Maybe it'll take 50 minutes and 50 pages. Just get it out and on the paper, capture it. And understand that it's these thoughts that are causing the feelings that you noticed in the first part of this. Okay, so this is what I do. And then you want to meet those thoughts with kindness, compassion, love, and understanding. So the poem that I mentioned in the beginning, if you can imagine that all people did this one thing or this series of things, notice how we're feeling, notice the thoughts that we're thinking, and meet those two things with a kindness, a compassion, and an understanding, a sense of allowing, a sense of welcoming home, a sense of, okay, this is what's going on. There's no terrible, there's no wonderful, there just is this observation. If we all just said 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pressed pause on everything we're doing, and we just all did this together, not even together, just individually. We just stopped. Can you imagine what would happen? It would be interesting, wouldn't it? So I want to share with you something that happened to me really quick. This has been several years ago when I know I was struggling with all kinds of negative emotion, and I didn't have the tools to deal. So what I would do is push it away. I would eat. I would avoid. I would binge watch on Netflix. I would sometimes lash out. I would go ride my horses. I would just do anything I could to avoid feeling negative emotion. That was not an option for me. I needed to change it, needed to make it better. I would not allow it. Just over and over and over. And that's kind of what has led me to here, because I was wanting to figure it out so much. It just really hit a wall where the things I was trying to do weren't working. I could eat. It would make me feel better for a moment, but then I would gain weight, or it would make me sick, or it would, it would comfort me, or it would numb the feelings, right, that I didn't want to feel. But it had such bad consequences. Same thing with binge watching, like a Netflix series. Yeah, I could escape feeling terrible. I could go into the story of whatever series I was watching. I remember doing that with Vampire Diaries. I just got so caught up in the drama of that show, I didn't have to deal with my life. And but then it didn't solve any of my problems. They were waiting for me when I got done watching all 7 seasons or whatever it was. Riding my horses. Yeah, it was a great feeling to go be with them, and I still love, of course, to be with my horses. But what I learned through the process was it wasn't a great way to. It wasn't the solution that solved why I was feeling the way I was feeling, overwhelmed and anxious and fearful and disgusted and all these terrible emotions. I didn't know how to process them. So one time, this is the story I want to tell you, is one time I had, I just remember waking up in the morning and remembering a very vivid dream that I had about my grandparents, who are a huge influence in my life. I live on a 5th generation family-owned cattle ranch in southeastern Oregon, and my grandfather was a huge influence in my life. Being around him, he's a very powerful personality. He reminds me of an Irish, because he was Irish. His father was from Ireland, but he reminds me. My grandfather himself reminded me of an Irish cattleman Donald Trump. So he was like very driven, very hard worker, very opinionated. So if he had an opinion, this is the man that I knew, he would tell you what it was. And sometimes his words were mean and sometimes they weren't, but it was, you got it. Like, he did not care if he hurt your feelings. He would call you anything. He would say whatever. And he got into lots of fights with lots of people, lots of heated things. I remember my father and him would fight all the time, just awful memories of that. Right. So, I had this dream. So anyway, kind of what happened was my grandfather ended up having cancer, that it was a tumor that was behind his eye. And, in the end, they did everything they could medically, and then it just, he went very quickly. It was a very hard, painful death to watch him go that way. So anyway, after he had passed, I had this dream. I had several dreams I'll have to share with you guys sometimes about him. But I had this dream that my grandparents were, they came to me and they were beautiful. They were probably 45, 50, the prime of their youth physically, like no ailments whatsoever. And they looked like they were from the era of when, it was probably 50s era in my dream, right? So you can imagine their clothes and the style of glasses they were wearing, and But what I remember so vividly is the happiness and the love. It was almost just like transparently coming out of their bodies. They were so beautiful and so full of love. And I just remember in my dream thinking, that's not the grandfather I remember. He was very good to me and he always showed me love, but I watched him show a lot of people a lot of things that were not love and in life. But in this dream, I mean, he was gorgeous. And I just remember being so drawn to his love. It was so powerful. The words cannot do it justice. And it was a very short clip, but what he showed me in this dream was his old him. So it was like there was two of him and one, and my grandmother had one too. So there was this beautiful loving version of themselves, and there was this really sick. It was sick. They were both very sick bodies, and they had them in the closets of their bedroom. They had these big, huge 50s style closets where they had turned those into beds in their bedrooms. And they opened the doors and they showed me these thems and they were just ugly and sick and sad, and it was like they had separated out the love that was in them from the rest of them, like fear, anxiety, sickness, illness, all these things in this physical body, like the most gnarly thing that you could ever imagine. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to see that. But what they showed me is how they were able, because they were only pure love, how they could just love, because that's what they were. They loved that other version of themselves so completely. It was a beautiful experience that I was like, wow, I didn't want to wake up. And I remember waking up and just having that love still radiating in me from them. And it didn't matter what wrongs anyone anywhere had ever done. They were just so full of love. It was like this cure-all for everything. And I just wanted more of it. And I just remember just anyone that was around me, all my family, I told them about this dream. And I'm like, we have to do this. We have to love. And you know, it stuck with me for a long, and it has forever. I mean, I fade in and out of it just like anybody, you know, have these negative experiences come along, but it's never left me to remember how can we just love unconditionally. Because in the simplest form of everything that's going on, you know, if that seems so far reaching to actually feel love towards all of it right now, that's the process and the journey, to just take one foot in front of the other and go, okay, why can't I love right now? What thoughts am I thinking about a certain situation, whether it's the riots, whether it's the president, whether it's COVID? What thoughts am I thinking that are saying I hate this? Because who ultimately suffers when we hate? It isn't the people we hate that suffer. They don't even know a lot of times. You know, if we're watching TV and we see all the rioting and all these things, and then we decide we're going to hate a group of people from our living room chair, or even if we get on social media and we spew about it, who ultimately is suffering when we're hating? It isn't the people that you're hating. It's you. You suffer. You suffer by all the abuse that you're feeding your body. It has to take it. It takes it, and it does a good job for a long time until it gives out and can't do it anymore. So in that journey to learn, you know, the tools and the skills to love, which isn't that hard, once you start seeking it out, once you want to feel better, because you realize that hating or fearing or anxietying or overwhelming is it's coming from your own thoughts. First of all, not the situation, but what you think about the situation. That's where it's coming from. And then realizing that it's really not serving any purpose to do that. You know, that's how we can tie this all back together to the beginning, when we're like, you know, I want to change the world, but first I got to change myself. And through that process of self-discovery, I'm allowed to influence what's going on. You know, what were the words from the poem is have an impact. Only then can you have an impact. It's like lighting one match, and then that match connects to the next match, and pretty quick, you keep doing that, you have a big, huge flame. And I think right now what we're seeing is it's kind of doing that the other way. That's what's in our faces. But just with you tuning in today, you're looking for ways to do it on the love side of it. So I had to get deep with you guys and share. That's what's going on. Because I feel like I've worked a long time to work through a lot of negative emotions that I just had to keep tracing, keep fighting until I realized that the tracing it back to its original source, there's no other way than to recognize the fact that it comes from my own thoughts. That's where it starts. So good stuff. The other thing that I want to, I don't want to talk about race or politics or any of that stuff, but one thing I do want to say that I realized, no, the emotion of tears comes when I think of the beauty of people. I subbed a lot at our local school district this year, and so whenever I tell that story about my grandpa and the dreams, this is what happens. But the next thing that is real life right now, it's not if you can say dreams or whatever they are, this is real life happened. So I subbed a lot this year in our schools before COVID, and got to spend quite a bit of time in kindergarten, which was insane in itself. But so you have 5 and 6 year olds, right? Kindergartners, and Rebecca's class has 23 or 24. The most amazing people, these little people, right? The children, amazing, and all different colors of skin: white skin, brown skin, black skin. Are there more colors of skin? I don't know. All different skin colors, all different hair colors, all different eye colors, any variation of human, tall ones, short ones, bigger ones, skinnier ones, just a huge array of kindergartners. They were not all the same. And what I observed from them being with each other is, if you want to know how to truly and naturally mingle amongst people, is you go watch those kids, because they do not care about that stuff. The only thing they care about is how they're being treated by each other. If one kid steals their paper, or breaks their crayon, or plays with the toy they want to be playing, then they have a problem. But it has nothing to do with the color of their skin. Nothing. They don't care. They don't see that. So if there is any way that we need to learn, it's from them. You just go watch them. It is amazing. And they shouldn't, because the hard truth of it is, I got to learn what was going on in some of them's homes, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't. They just haven't learned it yet. They haven't learned to hate each other. They know how they feel. Like, it's not that everything's always roses, but they just take it as it comes, and they express how they feel. It's awesome. It's beautiful. So anyway, I had to share that. The last thing that I want to say is two things that it's easy to fall into, and one is name calling. Who does that better than the president, right? I wonder if they censor me saying stuff like that. I don't even know. When we call people names, like we see the violence in the rioters, and we go, he's a moron, or he's an idiot, or what thugs? How could they? We start calling them names. It's natural and normal. It seems like it's okay to do that, but is it really? Is it okay to call people like, oh, what morons? I just seen someone do that, and yeah, you might be saying, oh, it's easy for you to say, you didn't have that happen to you, but what happens when we're calling people names? Like, what happens? First of all, is it true? You don't know. Like, we don't know where people are coming from when they act out the way that they do, and it's not our business. It isn't. It isn't. That's a whole other topic. But when we call someone a name, how does it even feel? Do we feel like righteous or justified when we're calling them names? I know I'm sounding kind of cliche, but why do that? And once again, if you go, oh, you know, there's such morons. I'm not trying to be righteous here at all. Like, if you feel that's a thought that you need to work through, and what you come out at the other end is it doesn't feel good inside your own body to call people that. And the reason why is, number one, it's not true. They really aren't. They're just humans trying to do the best that they can do. And what happens is it hurts ourselves. It hurts us. So I see no good that comes from doing that. And the other thing is our tendency to become very addicted to the drama, like the wow factor, the shock of it. You know, that's why the news is successful. The more horrific thing that they can find to put on there, the better. And it's really easy to get sucked into it. So I challenge you to, just, and I guess, you know, it's up to you if you want to continue to do that. You have your own motives. But what I'm saying is no name calling from me, and no sharing of the drama of as far as posts on here or anything like that. That's not happening. I'm going to work on myself, continue to notice how I feel, write down the thoughts, meet them with compassion and understanding and love. Like, I have the vision of how my grandfather came to me in the dream, and let that lead me, and keep sharing my message with everybody, because we're all just doing the best we can. We all are. Keep taking it into a focus of how can I get in the best shape, mentally and physically, enjoy being the weight and the size that I want to be to go crush my horse goals. You know, so I use that a lot as a way to focus on what I want and kind of let the rest sort itself out. So, gonna wrap up today. I'm really working on keeping these things around 30 minutes. Just always have a lot to say. So thank you for joining me. I would love to hear from you in the comments, or message me anything you want if this is resonating. If you can relate to anything that I'm saying, just go out there and remember to be kind and compassionate to yourself first and foremost, because when you can learn how to do that, it's a lot easier to do it to other people. I don't think it's possible to be kind and compassionate to others if you haven't learned how to do it to yourself. I always thought I was, but until I sat down and did the thought work that I'm talking about, it wasn't possible. 2 resources that I can leave you with. I'll have to write those down so I can put them in what I do for you guys. One I just thought of as I was talking, but have you seen the movie The Shack or read the book? It is definitely one that you can re-watch if you have watched it. It's a few years old, but does such a great job of how to handle when bad things happen to good people. And then the other one, that if you're looking for more, if you're truly accepting this notion that all of it's coming from the thoughts that we're thinking, there's a great book called, it's kind of where I've been getting my thought work. Let me get it here. Byron Katie. And then let me tell you what, she has a few books that she's written, but the one that really helps me is, I'm typing on my computer, Loving What Is. Byron Katie, Loving What Is. She has a wonderful systematic approach to helping you work through this thought process. It's very good. So leave you with those 2 resources. The last thing I want to say is next week it's going to be lighter. It's going to be fun and lighter. And what I want you to do is, if you are enjoying these episodes that I've been sharing, give them a like. Let me know. Also, is there a topic that you want me to talk about? I think Rhonda last week and I have it on my list to talk about, is how to reduce belly fat, so we can kind of get away from all this heavy stuff and work on some to-dos. So I'd be happy to, working on that one in the process. So if you have something that you want me to talk about in future episodes, just share it in the comments, message me, let me know. Okay, guys, have a great day, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.